عن صلاتهم ساهون الذين هم يراءون ويمنعون الماعون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Tonight I have a narration from Kitab al-Hujjah that Shaykh al-Kunaini, this chapter in Al-Kafi is mostly pertains to the wilayah of the Imams, how each Imam was given their authority and position, what their authority and position means. And this narration is about the time when the son of Imam Ali, Muhammad ibn Hanafiya, and Imam Zayn al-Abidin were in Mecca. And I'll summarize the first part of the narration. And Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq is recounting this story. So when Muhammad ibn Hanafiya comes to Imam al-Sajjad in Mecca, he tells him, that your father, Imam al-Hussein, has passed away. He was killed in Karbala. And that the new Imam has to take his position. And so he says that he is Imam al-Sajjad's uncle, that he was the son of Imam Ali, and that he was Imam al-Hussein's equal. So he is more deserving of the imamate over Imam al-Sajjad. So then Imam al-Sajjad, he replies, فَقَالَ لَهُ عَلِي بْنُ الْحُسَيْنِ عَلَيْهِمُ السَّلَامُ يَا عُمِّي اتق الله ولا تدع ما ليس لك بحق إني أعيذك أن تكون من الجاهلين. Ali ibn al-Hussein alayhi salam, he says, O uncle, be pious before Allah and do not claim in what you have no right. I advise you to not be part of the jahilin, the ignorant people. He then continues, إن أبي يا عمي صلوات الله عليه أوصى إلي قبل أن يتوجه إلى العراق وعهد إلي في ذلك قبل أن يستشهد بساعة وهذا سلاح رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله عندي. So he says, in fact, my father, Imam al-Hussein, appointed me as the executor of his will, so the Imam, before his leaving for Iraq. He made such a covenant with me just an hour before he became a shaheed. And then he points to his armament. This is the armament of Rasulullah. And in another hadith, it explains that the Imam inherits the armament of Rasulullah. Every Imam receives it when they become an Imam. Then he continues, فَلَا تَتَعَرَّضْ لِهَذَا فَإِنِّي أَخَافُ عَلَيْكَ نَقْصَ الْعُمْرِ وَتَشَتُّتَ الْحَالِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ جَعَلَ الْوَصِيَّةَ والإمامة في عقب الحسين عليه السلام فإذا أردت أن تعلم ذلك فانطلق بنا إلى الحجر الأسود حتى نتحاكم إليه ونسأله عن ذلك. So then he says, all right, no problem, you should not, he says, I'm afraid for you of a shorter life and quandary of conditions. Allah, the most majestic, the most gracious, has placed the wasiyyah, meaning he became the wasi, and imamat in the descendants of al-Hussein. But he says, no problem, if you would like to know more, we can go to the black stone, the Hajar al-Aswad. And the Hajar al-Aswad itself will give judgment on who is the imam. So then Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, as he's telling the story, he says, قال أبو جعفر وكان الكلام بينهما بمكة فانطلقا حتى أتيا الحجر الأسود. So Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq is saying that they had this issue when they were in Mecca, so they then proceeded to the black stone. فقال علي بن الحسين لمحمد بن الحنفية أبدأ أنت فابتهل إلى الله عز وجل وسله أن ينطق لك الحجر ثم سل. فابتهل محمد في الدعاء وسأل الله ثم دعا الحجر فلم يجب. Ali ibn al-Hussein alayhi salam said to Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiya, you begin first and pray to Allah. So he's telling him, you go ask the black stone first. and pray to Allah, the most majestic, the most gracious, and ask Him to make the black stone speak to you and then ask your question. So then Muhammad ibn Hanafiya went to the black stone, he asked it and prayed, and he received no answer. Then Imam al-Sajjad continues, فقال علي بن الحسين عليهم السلام يا عمي لو كنت وصيا وإماما لأجابك قال له محمد فادع الله أنت يا ابن أخي وسل. So Ali ibn Hussein said, "Oh uncle, had you been the executor of the will, had you been the wasi and the imam, it would have answered your question." Muhammad ibn Hanafiya then said, "Now you pray to Allah, O son of my brother, and ask your question." So then Ali ibn Hussein prayed to Allah, فَدَعَ اللَّهُ عَلِي ibn Hussein بِمَا أَرَادَ ثُمَّ قَالَ. So he prayed to the black stone and he was addressing it. And so this is what his prayer was. أسألك بالذي جعل فيك ميثاق الأنبياء وميثاق الأوصياء وميثاق الناس أجمعين لما أخبرتنا من الوصي والإمام بعد الحسين بن علي. So he says, I ask you for the sake, he says to the Hajar al-Aswad, I ask you for the sake of the one who placed the covenant of the prophets in you, as well as the covenant of the executors of the will, and the covenant of all the people. You must tell us who the wasi and the imam is after Imam al-Hussein. So the narrator of the hadith, he says, قال فتحرك الحجر حتى كاد أن يزول عن موضعه ثم أنطقه الله عز وجل بلسان عربي مبين. The narrator has said that the black stone began to shake so much that it almost came out of its place. Allah, the most majestic, the most gracious, then made it to speak in clear Arabic language, and it said, Allahumma inna al-wasiyyata wal-imamata ba'da al-Husayn ibn Ali ila Ali ibn al-Husayn ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib wa ibn Fatimata binti Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. The Hajar al-Aswad says, O Lord, the wasiyah and the imamah after Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam goes to Ali ibn al-Hussein ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib. And he is the son of Fatima, the daughter of Rasulullah. So then the narrator says, فَقَالَ فَانْصَرَفَ مُحَمَّدُ بْنُ عَلِي وَهُوَ يَتَوَلَّى عَلِيَّ بْنِ الْحُسَيْنِ. So then the narrator says that Muhammad ibn Ali returned back and he acknowledged that Ali ibn al-Hussein, Zayn al-Abidin al-Sajjad, was to be the wasi. And that is the end of the hadith. And inshallah, we do not make the same mistake that such a personality that the son of Imam Ali alayhi salam, Muhammad ibn Hanafiya, could make, that he did make. And that is why we have the dua that Zurara ibn A'ayun records for us in the ghayba. Allahumma arifni nafsak, فإنك إن لم تعرفني نفسك لم أعرفه. Allahumma arifni nabiyyak, فإنك إن لم تعرفني نبيك لم أعرفه قط. Allahumma arifni hujjatak, فإنك إن لم تعرفني حجتك ضللت عن ديني. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. that being said, I would like to invite our guest speaker, Sheikh Tayyab Mosavi, to the member for the topic of Ziyarat al-Waritha. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Please, brothers and sisters, before we begin, recite Surah Fatiha for your marhumin and for the marhumin of the people that provided tonight's, sponsored tonight's lecture. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen ar-Rahman ar-Rahim Maliki yawmiddin iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in ihdinas siratal mustaqim siratal ladzina an'amta alayhim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. اللهم اغفرهم وارحمهم واسكنهم بجوار محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يوصي نعمه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون والذي لا يدركه بهد الهمم ولا يناله غوث الفتن الذي ليس لصفته حد محدود ولا نعت موجود ولا وقت محدود ولا أجل ممدود فترى الخلائق بقدرته ونشر الرياح برحمته ووتد بالسخر ميدان عرض ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وحبيبنا وحبيب رب العالمين أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين واللعن على أعدائهم أجمعين من أول يوم ظلمهم إلى قيام يوم الدين أما بعد فقال الصادق على محمد في زيارة وارثة السلام عليك يا وارث عيسى روح الله صدق الله العلي العظيم. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're halfway done with the first 10 days of Moharram. And if we're going to be honest, even though there should be majalis, even though everyone should remember Abu Abdullah al-Hussein al-Islam all the way until Arba'een, the Shias, they'll appear or they'll come for the first 10 days and then they'll disappear until Arba'een. They'll come again when it's the 40th day or to commemorate the 40th day of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein al-Islam, and then they'll disappear until either the 13th of Rajab or the 19th of Ramadan. In reality, this is not how it's supposed to be. If we're going to consider Imam Hussein al-Islam to be our Imam, then it's our duty to remember Abu Abdullah al-Hussein al-Islam even after the month of Muharram. Not just for the first 10 days, not just only in that 1 month of Muharram. No, we need to remember him afterwards. We've come here for Ziyarat al-Waritha, and today we're looking at Nabiullah Isa alayhi salam. And what is it that Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam inherited from Nabiullah Isa? Because the words that Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says is what? Assalamu alayka warisa Isa ruhillah. So it tells you that whatever characteristic, not the physical things that Hazrat Imam Hussein inherited, no, a characteristic of Hazrat Isa alayhi salam that Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam inherited from Hazrat Isa alayhi salam has to do with the ruh of Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, has to do with that spirit of Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, has to do with that soul of Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, because that soul that Hazrat Isa alayhi salam has, from which he is known as Ruhullah, that's not the same soul that you and I have. The prophets, the successors of the prophets, the imams, they have a different type of soul. They have a different, and then we'll get to it inshallah before the end of the lecture about what Amir al-Mu'mineen says. When Kumail ibn Ziyad asked, Kumail ibn Ziyad, who we have a dua Kumail from, he asked Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says to Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, arrafni nafsak. Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, have me know or get me to know what the nafs is. And Amir al-Mu'mineen, he asked Kumail, what nafs are you speaking about? What nafs do you want to know about? And Kumail, he says, Ya Ali, is there more than one nafs? And Amir al-Mu'minin says, yes, there are 5. There are 5. What nafs do you want to know about? Inshallah, we'll get to it. But when it comes to Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, this personality was also shared by all of the 3 major religions. But when it comes to the Jews, they consider Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, or they considered him to be a troublemaker, and it was them that got together, and according to the Christians, they had Hazrat Isa alayhi salam put on the cross. When it comes to the Christian, they took Hazrat Isa alayhi salam and they turned him into a triune God. But when it comes to the Muslims, we didn't consider Hazrat Isa alayhi salam to be a troublemaker. We didn't take Hazrat Isa alayhi salam to be a part of God, but we took Hazrat Isa alayhi salam to be a prophet of God. Before I continue, please can I have the gentleman scoot over into the middle, because this whole area is empty, and then when people come they just end up sitting there. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. When it comes to Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, these 3 religions, they took this personality and they looked at him from a different scope. They looked at him from a different sphere. When it comes to us, Muslims, the majority of us, the way we look at Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, or the way we understand Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, even though we understand him to be a prophet, but when it comes to his life, when it comes to his life story, we get his life story from the Christians. If I was to ask anyone in this audience, can you tell me one story in the life of Hazrat Isa alayhi salam? How many of you would know? Just one story. If I was to ask you about the miracles of Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, you'll tell me the miracles, where he cures the leper, where he cures the blind, and he brings the dead back to life. But you will tell me those stories the way the Christians have portrayed them. If I was to ask you, how has Islam portrayed those same events, you wouldn't know. Correct? If I would just ask one story from the life of Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, and I want everyone to remember this. Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, he's walking with a companion, and they're walking the same route. When they walk the same route, they end up seeing 3 gold bricks on a wall. They're just 2 people, they end up seeing 3 gold bricks. They pick up the 3 bricks. The man, he goes to Hazrat Isa, there are 3 bricks. Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, he says, he picks them up. They go a little further. They get hungry. Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, he asks him to go get some food. He goes, he gets some bread. When he gets bread, he gets 3 loaves of bread. Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, he's engrossed in prayers. What does this man do? He eats a loaf of bread. When he eats a loaf of bread, Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, he's done with his prayers. And then he comes back and he says to him, where's the 3rd loaf? And the man, he says, I don't know. The man, he says, I don't know. When the man, he says, I don't know, Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, he says, okay. He doesn't eat. He doesn't eat. He just moves. They keep going. When they keep going, this man asks him, Ya Rasulullah, what are we going to do? Ya Isa, what are we going to do with those gold bricks? Hazrat Isa says, we're going to split them. We're going to split them. And he goes, how are we going to split them? There are 2 people, there are 3 gold bricks. He says, one will be for you, one will be for me, and the 3rd one will be for the person who ate that 3rd loaf of bread. The 3rd one will be for the person who ate that 3rd loaf of bread. As soon as he says this, greed. As soon as he says this man, he looks at Hazrat Isa, he says, I ate that 3rd loaf. I ate that 3rd loaf. Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, he says, okay, you can have all 3. Hazrat Isa gives him his. Now this man, he's going with the 3 bricks. He comes to a place and he halts. When he halts, he's thinking about what he's going to do with those 3 bricks of gold. And while he's thinking, he has them in his hand, he's thinking about it. 3 men, they come from the city. They come from the city. And they see this man with 3 gold bricks in his hand. All 3 of them, what did they decide? They say that, oh, this is just one person. We're 3 people. We can overpower him. They kill him. After they kill him, the 3, they get together and they say, okay, you know what? Now we have these 3 gold bricks. They send one of them to go and get some food. The 2 that stay behind, they're close friends. They talk amongst themselves and they say, as soon as that third person comes back, we're going to kill him and we're going to take his gold. That third person that went, he himself is thinking about how he can also gather those 2 gold bricks. When he goes, he gets the bread, but what does he do? He poisons it. He poisons the bread. He comes back. The 2, they kill that one man. Now they have 3 gold bricks. They eat the bread. As soon as they eat the bread, what happens? They end up dying. Why? Because the bread was poisoned. Now the bread was poisoned. Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, he comes back. He comes back. He sees 3 gold bricks, but he sees 4 dead bodies. And he says, this is what greed does. 3 gold bricks, 4 dead bodies. This is what greed does. If you don't say this is enough, it leads you down that path. If you don't say this is enough, it doesn't matter what. Even when it comes to good things, is money a bad thing to have? This is gold. Is gold something bad to have? No, it's not. Money is not something bad to have. How you come by that money, yes, there can be good and bad. How you come by, how you accumulate that wealth, yes. But in and of itself, it's neither good or bad. How you use it will determine whether or not you're good or bad. Greed. Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, this is what greed does. The people that were in Karbala, that were in the army of Yazid, what were they there for? Do you all know? There were people in the narration state that there were people in Karbala in the army of Yazid because Yazid had told them that he would give them gold. Not just gold, but narration state that there were some people in the army of Yazid who were only in the army of Yazid. Why? Because Umar ibn Sa'd had promised them a handful of dates. A handful of dates. They're coming, they've left Kufa, they left Sham to kill the grandson of the Holy Prophet for a handful of dates. For a handful of dates. This tells you what type of humans they were. For a handful of dates. They wrote letters to Imam Hussein. They're coming out to fight against him for grapes, for dates, for gold coins. For gold coins. Nabiullah Isa alayhi salam, as we read in the Quran, first and foremost, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the mother of Nabiullah Isa. And I spoke about the mother of Nabiullah Musa yesterday. Today, let's look at the mother of Nabiullah Isa. And what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about the mother of Nabiullah Isa, Ya Maryam, when the angels, they come down, they descend, and they say to the mother, Lady Maryam, what? Ya Maryam, inna Allah istafa'ke wa tahadake wa istafa'ke ala nisa'il alameen. Oh Maryam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has what? Istafa. What's istafa mean? Chosen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen you, and He has cleansed you, and He has chosen you amongst the women of the world. Correct? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose her one time. What is this first choosing? After this first choosing, then He cleansed her. After He cleansed her, then He chose her again. That first choosing, the ulama, they say that first choosing was that she was chosen to be from the lineage of Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cleansed her. Why? For that second choosing. Because she was going to be chosen for Nabiullah Isa alayhi salam to come into this world. Nabiullah Isa. 1, 2. Lady Maryam, who is she having this conversation with? The angels are descending on her. The angels are talking to her. When she's being told about the birth of Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, who's the one that brings that? Who's the one who's coming and bringing that information to her? Hazrat Jibreel alayhi salam. If you pick up any tafsir, they say that Jibreel alayhi salam was coming with that information. What is the job of Jibreel? The job of Jibreel is to bring wahi. The job of Jibreel alayhi salam is to bring wahi. Is Lady Maryam a prophet? No. Is she a prophetess? No. Yesterday we looked at the mother of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam. وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَىٰ أُمِّ Musa. This wahi was ilham. We agreed. Today we're looking at the mother of Hazrat Isa alayhi salam. And now there isn't ilham. She's seeing the angel in front of her. She's speaking to the angel speaking to her. So what does this tell you? That these angels, they don't only descend upon prophets, they don't only descend upon men, no, they've descended upon women. This was wahi for who? Lady Maryam. But this wahi was only and only specific to her. This wahi was not where it was for the whole world to follow. No, this was khas only and only for her. We have narrations from the 124,000 prophets. Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam, Imam Riza alayhi salam, they were asked about all these, and they say that of the prophets, there's some prophets for whom there was only and only ilham. For some prophets, they could hear the voice of the angel, but they could not see the angel. For some prophets, not only did they hear the voice, but they saw the angel. They saw the angels. So you have what? Within prophets, you have three distinct categories. Some they just heard voice, some they only had ilham, some they saw the angel. And the Imams themselves, they say most of these prophets, of those 124,000 prophets, most of them were prophets only and only for themselves and for their family. For their family. You only have how many prophets that were prophets for all of mankind? How many prophets? Thank you. Thank you so much. 5. The Ulul Azam prophets, they were for mankind. From those, the 4 with the books. 4 with the books that were for all of mankind. These 4 books were for all of mankind, not just any specific group, not just any one particular set of people. These books were for everyone. Nabiullah Isa alayhi salam, he's come into this world not even a few hours old. What does he say? Inni Abdullah Atani al-Kitab wa ja'alani Nabiya. I am the servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I've been given the book and I've been made a prophet. When these prophets come, when these chosen representatives of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala come, where was that book that Nabiullah Isa was talking about when he says that I've been given the book? Where was that book? Did he come with a book like that in his hand? No, he didn't. That book was with him in his spirit. That book was with him in his heart. What was he doing? He was reciting those verses of that book. He was reciting. 2 hours old. He's already speaking. The first things that come out of his mouth are what? Inni Abdullah. I am the servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The servant. I've been given the book and I've been made a prophet. This is why none of the Muslims, we do not take any of the prophets, any of the imams to be God. Why? Because every prophet that has come, every prophet, according to narrations, every prophet that has come, every imam that has come, when they've come to the world, the first thing that they've done is they've prostrated their head on the ground and they've said the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They've let the world know that they are a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How sad is it? 124,000 prophets, 12 imams, all of them, they prostrate their head on the ground to show their respect, to show that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the greatest of the greats. But you and I, it becomes very difficult to do the same. It becomes difficult to do the same. Nabiullah Isa, 2 hours old, he's already doing this. He's doing this. And you have Muslims that say that our holy prophet, he was what? Illiterate. Nauzubillah. How can our holy prophet be illiterate when all the other prophets, they came to this world with knowledge? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about the holy prophet what? He says that Allamahu shadidul quwa. And he's been taught by who? The one that is greatest in power. Who's the greatest in power? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Quran says this. The Muslims, they say, no, he was illiterate. MashaAllah. The majority of Muslims, they follow an illiterate prophet. You should be grateful that our belief is not that we follow an illiterate prophet. Our belief is that we follow a literate prophet. How can, if your professor, if you claim that the prophets are here to teach us, if your professor was illiterate, would you go learn from him? If your teacher was illiterate, what can they teach you? If your professor was illiterate, what can they teach you? Absolutely nothing. So how can this representative of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who's been sent to teach the world, how can he himself be illiterate? How can he be illiterate? Nabiullah Isa telling people, even though I'm a few hours old, this is who I am. And what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say about Nabiullah Isa? He says that Nabiullah Isa, he was what? From the kalima of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nabiullah Isa, he came in, for the youngsters, as maybe if they don't know, Nabiullah Isa, he came into this world from who? Who was the mother? Lady Maryam. Who was his father? He didn't have one. Thank you so much. He didn't have one. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says that Nabiullah Isa alayhi salam, he was created from what? The kalima. From the kalima of Allah. So from the Quran itself, you realize that there are some creatures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who've been created by the kalima of Allah. They've been created by the kalima of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What's this kalima? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says what? Kun fayakun. If he wishes, if he wants a thing to happen, all he says is kun fayakun. All he says is be, and it becomes. Amir al-Mu'min, when it comes to this kun, he says that this kun isn't something that is heard by the ears. This kun is not something that is heard by the ears. How can it be? If something does not exist, if it does not exist, then the idea of hearing something does not happen. Correct? All of these jamadat, all of these rocks, all of these spiritless things, can they hear? No. You and I, for you and I, they can't hear. Correct? So Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says that this kun is not something that is heard. This kun and his want are one and the same. This kun and his want for something to come into existence, they're the same. As soon as he wants, that is kun itself. That's kun itself. And Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, Ana fa bain al-kun fayakun. I am that fa between kun, between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying be fayakun, and it coming into existence. That's Amir al-Mu'mineen saying that. I am that fa. This is the authority. Inshallah, when we get to Amir al-Mu'mineen, we'll talk about that authority. This is the authority that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given the A'imah alayhim salam. And this authority, I said, I think 2 lectures ago, that this authority is specific only and only to Ahl Muhammad. That's it. And we'll look at that authority. Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that he is Ruh. He is Ruh. He is the spirit of Allah. What is the spirit? What is the spirit? Kumail ibn Ziyad, when he asked Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ya Ali, can you tell me about the spirit? Amir al-Mu'mineen says, Kumail, what spirit do you want to know about? And Kumail says, Ya Ali, is there more than one spirit? Yes, there's more than one spirit. There are 5 spirits. 5 spirits. Each spirit can do 5 things, and they each have 2 specialties. Each spirit does 5 things, and they each have 2 specialties. And Kumail, he asked, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, can you tell me about all these spirits? Amir al-Mu'mineen, he names all the spirits, and he tells them the 2 specialties of each spirit. And then he gets to one spirit, and he says that this spirit, the humans, the regular humans do not have them. This last spirit, only and only the prophets have it, only and only the Awsiya have it, and only we have it, we Ahlul Bayt have it. And it is through this spirit that these prophets do not make any mistakes. Narration from Amir al-Mu'minin. It's through this spirit that this spirit is with those awliya, this spirit is with those prophets from the beginning to the end. And it's this spirit that keeps them from making any type of error, any type of sin. It's this spirit. And Kumail, he asked, Ya Amir al-Mu'minin, what spirit is this? What spirit is this? Amir al-Mu'minin, he says, this is Ruhul Qudsiyah. Ruhul Qudsiyah. This is that spirit. And he says that this spirit only and only we have. This is the spirit that Hazrat Isa alayhi salam had. This Ruh. This is the spirit that was inherited by Abu Abdullah al-Husayn alayhi salam. It's this spirit. What's the specialty behind this spirit? It's this spirit that allows the Imams, it's this spirit that allows the prophets to do what they do. Meaning what? All the miracles that the prophets do, it's because of this spirit. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them permission to do miracles, but that permission has been left in, or that permission has been given to this spirit. And they do it because of this spirit. Just as Hazrat Isa al-Islam was able to perform miracles through that spirit, you look at Abu Abdullah al-Husayn al-Islam, he was able to perform miracles through that spirit. Even today, Imam Hussein al-Islam is not physically with us. Not physically with us. But how many miracles do you hear about every year? At least one miracle from the shrine of Abu Abdullah al-Husayn al-Islam. Every year. At least one miracle. How is he able to do that? It's because of that power that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has. Understand the Imams. Alhamdulillah, the brother today, if please, the narrations that he brings, come 10 minutes early. Listen to those narrations. Those narrations, today's narrations was about imamat itself and the wilayat that the Imams have. The wilayah that the Imams have, that authority that the Imams have. Understand who you are following, understand your Imam. Not from the aspect of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he was born the 3rd of Shaban and he was martyred on the 10th of Moharram. No. 1400 years is enough now that we understand Imamat and the Imams through this way. That's it. No. This narration that was brought, the ulama, they look at this narration and some of them, they used to say that Muhammad Hanafiya, he claimed to be Imam. The other ulama, they said no, because by that time, what had happened, Imam Hussein when he left Medina, who was there now? From Banu Hashim, who was there? The only people that were there were who? Either Muhammad Hanafiya or who? Abdullah ibn Ja'far. From the Banu Hashim. These were the people that were there. The eldest was who? Muhammad Hanafiya. He was the son of Amir al-Mu'minin. Ulama, they say that by this time, people had already taken Muhammad Hanafiya to be Imam. By the time Imam Zain al-Abidin was coming back, people were already believing that Muhammad Hanafiya was Imam. And this narration that the brother brought today, why did Muhammad Hanafiya go? Why did Muhammad Hanafiya wait until they said, look at the reason. Why did Muhammad Hanafiya wait until the time of Hajj? Why did he wait until the time of Hajj to take Imam Zain al-Abidin to Hajar Aswad? They say it's not because he claimed to be Imam. No. And it's because he wanted everyone that believed him to be Imam know that he wasn't the Imam. The place to do that is where as many people gather as possible. And that was where? In Hajj. This is why our ulama, they say that Muhammad Hanafiya did not claim to be Imam. No, he wanted to tell the people that no, he's not the Imam, this is the real Imam. But what about the way the narration is where Imam Zain al-Abidin, he says, "Oh my uncle, do not be of the Jahiliyyah, do not be of the ignorant ones." They say no. When Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein alayhi salam, when they were teaching an old man how to do wuzu, what did the old man say? If you guys all remember that. Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein, they're 7, 8 years old. They see an old man, he's doing wuzu improperly. When he does his wuzu improperly, Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein, they look at him and they say, you know what, we need to correct his wuzu. How did they do it? They go and they tell the old man, "Sir, we're going to do wuzu, can you tell us which one of us is correct? Which one of us is correct?" And the old man, he looks at both of them, he knows exactly who both of them are. He looks at both of them and he says, both of you are doing your wuzu correctly. It's me that has done it wrong. It's me that is doing it wrong. Learn this from Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Learn this from Imam Hassan. When you see someone do something wrong, either in their old age or in their young age, the mothers, the fathers, do not just go and shout at the kids to correct them. No. Teach them in this manner. The youngsters, when we see someone older than us, he's 60, he's 65, he doesn't even know how to do wuzu properly, mashallah. This is the way some of us think. He's 80 years old, he doesn't even know how to do wuzu. He's 80 years old, he doesn't even know how to pray salat. That's not how Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein used to teach. No. That's not how they taught. That wasn't their akhlaq when it came to teaching. Their akhlaq was completely different. When it came to teaching, they taught how? Through action, not by their words. Through action. That's what you all need to understand. This Ruhul Qudus that Abu Abdullah al-Hussein inherited, this was that same soul that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls Nafsul Mutma'innah. And this was that same soul that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants back. Where? When Imam Hussein gets to Karbala. It's that same soul. Tonight, brothers and sisters, we are commemorating the shahadat of the son of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. There wasn't just one son of Imam Hassan that was martyred in Karbala. Do you all know that? But we just recognize Hazrat Qasim. Inshallah, I will read the Masahib of Hazrat Qasim. But the last child to go out of the tents and put his hands over the body of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam, do you know who that was? His name was Abdullah. When Shimr was about to martyr Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam, there was a child that ran from the tents. When he ran from the tent, he covered his hands. He put his hands over Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. His name was Abdullah and he was a son of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. The narrations, they state that when he puts his hands out, the enemies, they strike at his arms and his arms get severed. His arms get severed. After his arms got severed, the enemy, they struck him on the head and he passed away. He was martyred. Do you know how many children Lady Zainab Salawatullah went with when she left Medina? The narrations, they state that it was 80. 80 children. Do you know how many children returned with her when she came back to Medina? Narrations state that it was either 3 or 4 children. What happened to all those children? Do you all know? If you've ever gone for ziyarat from Karbala to Sham, you'll see that every couple of miles, Bint Imam Hassan, Ibn Imam Hassan, Ibn Amir al-Mu'mineen, all of these children, every couple of miles. Of all of the children that were martyred in Karbala, do you know who Abu Abdullah al-Hussein cried for the most? And who he didn't want to go out into the battlefield? It was Qasim ibn Imam Hassan. Sallallahu alayka ya Rasulallah. Sallallahu alayka ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. Sallallahu alayka ya Siddiqatu Fatima. Sallallahu alayka ya Hasan al-Mujtaba. Sallallahu alayka ya Gharib al-Ghuraba. Ya Aba Abdullah al-Husayn. Ya Hussein. Brothers, sisters, it's the night before Ashur. Abu Abdullah al-Husayn alayhi salam, he's on the prayer mat and he's praying. He has his eyes closed and he's doing his du'as. When he's doing his du'as, he realizes that someone has come down and sat next to him. He opens his eyes and he sees that it's his nephew Qasim. Qasim, he asks him, "Oh uncle dear, my mother has sent me." And Imam Hussein, he says, "Qasim, go back to your mother. She's alone. It's dark. She's lonely and she's all alone. Go back to her." That's what Qasim says, "Oh uncle dear, it's my mother who has sent me. She sent me to ask you if my name is also with the shuhada tomorrow." When Imam Hussein, he hears this, he doesn't say anything. He stays quiet. Then he asks again. When he asks again, he asks Hazrat Qasim, "Oh Qasim, how do you see shahadat to be?" Hazrat Qasim, he replies, "Oh uncle dear, I consider shahadat to be sweeter than honey itself." When he says this, then Hazrat Qasim, he asks, "Oh uncle dear, you still have not answered my question. Can you tell me if my name is with the shuhada tomorrow? Because you haven't answered my question, I'm assuming that my name isn't with them. I'm assuming that I won't be shaheed tomorrow." How was Abu Abdullah al-Husayn to tell Qasim that not only his name, but his son Ali al-Asghar's name is with the shuhada? When he finally tells Qasim, he tells Qasim, "Oh Qasim, oh my nephew, oh my son, it's not only you, but my son Ali al-Asghar, his name is also with the shuhada." Qasim, he asks, "Oh uncle dear, will the enemies come to the tents and kill Ali al-Asghar?" How was Abu Abdullah al-Husayn supposed to tell him, "No, the enemies will not come to the tents, but Ali al-Asghar would come out of the tents"? How was he supposed to tell Hazrat Qasim that there would be an arrow that would strike Ali al-Asghar in the throat? Brothers, sisters, it's the 10th of Moharram. Hazrat Qasim, he's been going since Fajr time asking his uncle for battle. But Abu Abdullah al-Husayn, he says, "Oh Qasim, you're the remembrance of my brother. I don't want to send you yet." He goes, he comes back, he goes, he comes back. Finally the mother, she sees him and she says, "Oh Qasim, you're still alive. The sons of Zainab, they've already gone and you're still alive." And what does Qasim say? He says, oh mom, oh mother dear, I keep going to uncle, but he keeps denying me, he doesn't want me to go. That's when Farwa, what does she do? She remembers the last will of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. It was bound as an amulet around the arm of Hazrat Qasim. She opens that amulet and she gives it to Hazrat Qasim. He reads it and he kisses it and he takes that amulet to Abu Abdullah al-Husayn alayhi salam. Abu Abdullah al-Husayn, he reads that amulet, and what does that amulet say? It's written in it. He says that this is the last will from my brother from me to my brother Abu Abdullah al-Husayn alayhi salam. And he says in there, "Oh my brother Hussein, when you're lonely, when you're going to go to that battle, please send my son Qasim on my behalf." Brother and sister, what does Farwa do? Hazrat Qasim, he's only 13 years old. Farwa, what does she do? She brings the turban of Imam Hassan alayhi salam, she puts it on Hazrat Qasim. Said Hazrat Qasim, he can't get onto the horse himself. The narrations say that Abu Abdullah al-Husayn and Abu al-Fas Abbas, they put Qasim on that horse. Qasim, he goes out, he fights and he shows the people that what kind of power the Banu Hashim have. And when he gets to the center, what did the people do? They surround him. When they surround him, they attack him. When they attack him, he falls to the ground. And when he falls to the ground, he gives out the one last call. He says, "Ya Jaddi, Ya Ammi, Adrikni." "Oh uncle dear, help me." Brother, sister, the narration said when he said, "Oh uncle dear, Ya Abu Abdullah, help me," Abu Abdullah al-Husayn, he went out of the tent as swiftly as possible. He had never gone out of the tent in that way. And the narration said that when the enemies, they saw the way Abu Abdullah al-Husayn was coming towards them, they all thought that they were going to attack him. So what did the horsemen do? Some of the horsemen from the right, they go to the left, trampling the body of Qasim. The horsemen from the left, they go to the right, trampling the body of Qasim. When Abu Abdullah Hussein alayhi salam gets to the body of Qasim, Qasim's soul is already gone. And what did the narration state? Whatever was left of Qasim, Abu Abdullah Hussein alayhi salam, he picks up and he wants to go and give it to Lady Farwa. And what does she do? She sees the hoof prints on Hazrat Qasim's body. When she sees those hoof prints, then she remembers why Imam Hassan alayhi salam used to kiss the chest of Hazrat Qasim. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Wal-la'natullahi ala al-qawm al-kafirin. Matam Hussein.
Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Hussein.
जब रदा सर से छनी मैं सदा देती रही तू ना या गाजी जब रदा सर से छनी मैं सदा देती रही तू ना या गाजी जब रदा सर से छनी मैं सदा देती रही तू ना या गाजी आल इमरान ने कहा और जिंदा ने कहा ये बहन कैद हुई तू ना या गाजी जब रदा सर से छनी मैं सदा देती रही तू ना या गाजी हमको पानी ना मिले तेरे खुशबू हो रहे तेरे बाजू ना कते चाहे मशकी जाची दे ये मगर हो ना सका तेरे बाजू है जुदा मुझ पे है तशना लबी तू ना या गाजी अब रदा सर से छनी मैं सदा देती रही तू ना या गाजी धूप में तू ता शजर तुझसे आबाद था घर है पर है ना मेरा सर क्या नहीं तुझे को खबर ए अलमदार वफा इस बहन को बाहुदा तुझसे धारस्ती बरी तू ना या गाजी जब रदा सर से चली मैं सदा देती रही तू ना या गाजी आ गई शाम अलम लुट गई अहले हरम रेत पर जलती हुई हो गया ठंडा आलम पुरस देने के लिए मुझसे मिलने के लिए आ गई बाबाली तू ना या गाजी جب ردا سر سے چنی میں صدا دیتی رہی تو نایا غازی کتنی بے بس تھی بہن اے شہنشاہ وفا نام لے لے کے میرا جب یہ ظالم نے کہا ناز تاجز پہ تجھے اب بلاؤ نہ اسے اور میں روتی رہی تو نایا غازی جب ردا سر سے چنی میں صدا دیتی رہی تو نایا غازی قید خانے میں قضا جب سکینہ کو ملی دیکھ کرتے کا کفن بچی دفنائے گئی اس گری نام تیرا صورت ناد علی بس میں دہراتی رہی دنیا غازی جب ردا سر سے چنی میں صدا دیتی رہی دنیا غازی یا حسین یا حسین
یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین
Assalamu alaikum mu'mineen. Just a reminder, we have a Q&A session on Thursday, 6:45 p.m. with the Sheikh. 6:45 p.m. on Thursday, inshallah.
متوجہ زیارت السلام علیکہ یا رسول اللہ السلام علیکہ محمد ابن عبداللہ السلام علیکہ یا خاتم النبیین ورحمت للعالمین السلام علیکہ یا خدیجۃ الکبریٰ ام المومنین السلام علیکہ یا ابن علی المرتضی السلام علیکہ یا ابن فاطمۃ الزہرا سیدۃ النساء العالمین السلام علیکہ امام الحسن المجتبی السلام علیکہ ابن حسین الشہید کربلا السلام علیکہ علی ابن الحسین زین العابدین السلام علیکہ محمد ابن علی باقر علم النبیین السلام علیکہ ابا محمد جعفر الصادق السلام علیکہ ابا موسیٰ جعفر الکاظم السلام علیکہ یا غریب الغرباء السلام علیکہ معین الضعفاء والفقراء السلام علیکہ شمس الشموس وانیس النفوس ایہا المصفون بعرض توس الراضی بالقدر والقضاء ورحمت اللہ وبرکاتہ السلام علیکہ ایہا التقی الجواد السلام علیکہ ایہا الہادی النقی السلام علیکہ امام الحسن العسکری السلام علیکہ مولانا صاحب العصر والزمان الامان 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 من فتنة الزمان الامان اجر اللہ تعالی فرجک وسال اللہ تعالی مخرجک وظہورک السلام علیکم ورحمت اللہ وبرکاتہ.